We are here at the Minnesota Sports Card Show in St. Paul, Minnesota for a special episode of Your Money. We are taking you inside the booming sports card industry. Why some cards are worth thousands of dollars and others are only worth pennies. We'll show you the history of the hobby and talk to dealers who are tracking the next big thing. So if you're a collector or curious about this unique hobby, stay tuned right here to Your Money. Welcome to Your Money. I'm your host, Gordon Severson, here to help you save, spend, and invest your money wisely. Today we are on location at the Minnesota Sports Card Show here in St. Paul, Minnesota. This is an event where hundreds of dealers and thousands of collectors come to buy, sell, and trade sports cards. We're going to start things off by interviewing one of the organizers who's going to give us a good inside look at this industry and how it has grown over the last couple of years. I'm here with Isaac, who's one of the organizers of the show. Thanks so much for chatting with us.
Yeah, no problem.
So tell me about the industry, and the whole sports card industry. Like, I've heard that the pandemic was huge for you guys. What happened during the pandemic?
I guess you're locked in your house and you start going through stuff, you find cards, like, ooh, cards. And it's just like, it was just an interesting thing. The hobby, like, 10X, it was just like, overnight, it seemed like within, like, overnight, it was just boom. Like, there was a huge peak, and then it obviously came down from that a little bit, but it's so much higher, so much higher than it was pre-pandemic still.
And have you seen a lot of companies, a lot of cards, a lot of new things in the last couple of years to kind of meet that interest?
Yeah, there's a lot of new companies, a lot of new dealers, a lot of, different things with different companies coming in, innovating, bringing in new products.
And I'm sure this show is just part of that. I mean, you guys didn't have this before the pandemic, but seeing that demand.
That is correct. It wasn't a thing before the pandemic, and then 2 years after about, we started it.
And I'm sure there are a lot of these smaller regional shows that are popping up across the country, right?
Yeah, there's quite a few bigger ones like this size, but there's probably dozens every weekend across the country of like 20 to 120 tables. We host shows in Minnesota, North Dakota, South Dakota, Iowa, that are about 100 to 150, 200 tables. There's shows about every weekend, within probably a 2-3 hour drive of you.
And I've heard that there are some national shows that bring in tens of thousands of people.
So the National, it was in Cleveland this year. They bring in about 100,000 people to wherever they end up going.
What is the draw for so many people that are getting into sports cards? Why is it growing?
Some people, it brings back, your childhood. It's a good way to collect, the people you watch on, TV every Sunday, or if it's football Sunday, basketball and baseball every day sometimes. Obviously a lot of people in here talking with each other, making friends, hanging out, traveling together. And
I'm seeing people of all ages. Just looking out there, I'm seeing some people in their 50s, 60s, but I'm seeing some kids out there.
There'll be little 2-year-olds and people in their 80s or 90s coming out, looking for all different sorts of things. Some people like looking through boxes, some people like $50,000 cards.
Yeah, that's part of what we're going to be talking about with this episode, is some of those big pricey cards and learning more about what makes a card valuable versus not. I'm sure there's just so much to learn for people that are coming into this.
If you try to jump in too fast, you'll probably get a little overwhelmed. You got to start slow and kind of learn and figure out what you like to collect.
Well, thanks so much for chatting with us. We're going to walk around the floor and talk to some more people, hear some stories, but thank you so much for hosting us.
No problem.
Yes, the sports card hobby has changed a lot over the last couple of years. It's very different than when I was a kid growing up in the 90s, buying sports cards, buying rookie cards from Ken Griffey Jr., Frank Thomas, and others. A big part of the industry right now is card breaking, where they break up boxes of packs and spread them out to people based on team. We're going to show you what breaking is all about. I am here with Ryan from Real Sports Cards to learn a little more about breaking. You were saying before that breaking is a big part of what you guys do. What is breaking? How does it work?
Different from selling product in our store, where we would generally sell it by the pack or by the box, kind of the traditional way of buying trading cards. What we do with breaks is we fractionalize these products and sell them by the team or by the player. And what that allows you to do as a collector is really focus your hobby dollars on chasing cards of players and teams that you really care about. You know, if you come into our store in Champlin and buy a box, who knows what cards you're going to get. But if I'm a Vikings fan and I can buy all of the Vikings from 12 boxes worth of product, I know that all of those dollars I spend are going to get me cards that I care about, I'm really excited about receiving.
Because I know these boxes, I mean, they could be hundreds, thousands of dollars, and if you're only into one team, you have all these cards that you don't know what to do with. If you're breaking, you can maybe spend 50 or 100 bucks and really get the ones you want.
Exactly. You know, today there are products out there that are $50 a box, and there are products out there that are $20,000 a box. It's a wild collecting market, but yeah, when you can focus on buying a specific team, you can, you know, have a little bit of stake in a product that you might not otherwise be able to afford. Yeah.
And I've heard that most of breaking takes place, you know, online through apps or through platforms where people can be watching this live as it's happening.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, that's part of the fun, is this online community. We live stream on the Real Sports Cards app 10 to 15 hours a day, 7 days a week. And so you can pop onto our app and see us opening products for other people just about any time of the day. And the really neat part about that is you can watch for free, right? I mean, you can come onto the app, you can learn about different products, decide what products you're interested in or not interested in before you ever even buy anything, because you can watch us opening this product live.
And I've heard there's a certain degree of showmanship in the breaking where, you know, their personalities, almost like radio personalities, getting really into it.
Every breaker has their own, you know, personality and thing. Even within our own business, we have breakers that are loud and energetic and super excitable when they hit big cards, and we have other breakers who are like encyclopedias of baseball knowledge, and so, you know, different collectors vibe with different personalities, and, you know, they can choose who they want to watch open these products. It's a lot of fun.
What would be your advice to someone who's never done card breaking that maybe would see this and be curious about it? What would be your advice to them?
You can literally go online and watch these things happen live, see how they sell. You can chat and interact with the breakers. You can ask them questions. Good breakers are going to respond and educate people who are learning and help people get through navigating the process.
Yes, with card breaking, you can save a lot of money, but some of the collectors and dealers here did warn me that in some cases people can get addicted to it. It's a lot of fun, and it is a form of gambling in many cases, so you should be aware of that before you get into breaking. In a recent break, though, someone here in Minnesota pulled a one-of-a-kind card that's worth a lot of money. Check out this story.
So we're typically live every single day.
From Triple Diamond Sports Cards and Collectibles in Eagan.
Everybody's in the chat going crazy. It's a lot of fun.
Zach Guerrero-Servog.
I love it.
Streams to an audience of thousands.
I love sports, and that translates into loving this.
He's known as a breaker.
Alrighty, everybody.
Which means he opens boxes of cards that customers have bought.
I've been doing this for 5 months now, and I've never hit the card that everybody wants.
Braden Taylor.
He thought this week might be his chance when Topps released a new set of baseball cards for recent draft picks.
We've been waiting for this product to come out for months now.
That's because the set includes a fictional Tom Brady card in a Montreal Expos uniform, the team that drafted him in baseball in 1995.
What a power hitter.
Ahead of Tuesday's release, Topps promoted the Brady card, showcasing the rare autographed version with gold vinyl known as the Superfractor 1 of 1.
I'm like, I know we're going to hit it today.
When Zach logged on Tuesday night,
Your names and teams are there on the right.
his dream came true.
Tom Brady on release day, Chance!
Oh my God!
Holy
The one card that everybody wants from the set, and it's in Eagan, Minnesota, in my hands. I couldn't believe it. I couldn't believe it.
The person who bought the card will get a big payday.
Maybe $1 million.
Store owner Alex Davis
So this is the gold vinyl copy.
has been in contact daily with the customer.
I mean, what a feeling. I don't think he slept in like 2 days.
Since then, some curious fans have stopped into the store,
Hey there, we collect Tom Brady baseball cards.
including this guy you might recognize from the Vikings.
I think we might have to compete for these.
The store doesn't get any money out of the deal,
It's a lot of fun.
but employees like Zach will always be a part of history.
I still can't believe it. It's just so so amazing. This hobby is just amazing, honestly.
We're told that same buyer that pulled that Tom Brady card actually pulled another Tom Brady card in that break. This one wasn't autographed though, but we're told it's still worth a few $1,000s. Coming up after the break, we're going to show you a card that's worth even more money than that Tom Brady card. The unlikely story of two brothers who found it tucked away in an old desk. Plus card grading, why collectors are forking out big money to have their cards graded by a professional. Why it could turn a card worth a few dollars into a $1,000 collectible. Stay tuned to Your Money. Welcome back to Your Money. If you're just joining us, we are here at the Minnesota Sports Card Show giving you an inside look at the sports card industry. We've already talked about a lot of really expensive cards, and I wanted to know what makes a card valuable, worth thousands of dollars, and other cards only worth pennies. I talked to a local collector and dealer to find out. I'm here with Kevin. He is a collector and a buyer with Triple Diamond Sports Cards. You see a lot of cards, you buy a lot of cards, right?
I do, yes, sir.
And so you're probably the perfect person to ask. You know, a lot of people hear these stories about these $1 million cards, $100,000 cards, and they're wondering, like, what makes that card so special and valuable? What makes one card worth thousands and some worth pennies?
We first have to start with the player, right? We're chasing specific players. When it comes to specific sports, when we're thinking of football, we're chasing quarterbacks, people who catch touchdowns, Hall of Famers, people like that. Kind of just big names, and then it comes down to set next. There are certain sets that are just, you know, higher tier than others.
And walking around the show, I'm seeing a lot of the cards have numbering on them where there's only so many printed. I'm sure scarcity and how many are out there is a big part of it.
Absolutely. So you'll get cards that are, you know, one of ones, which is obviously the one and only, and then you'll also get cards numbered to 25, numbered to 50, 100, you know, 250, whatever it may be, and that number indicates how many were printed.
And you know, in basic economic principles, scarcity drives price, and also demand. People have to want it too. You can't have a one of one of someone no one's ever heard of. No one's going to buy that.
Exactly.
So it's kind of a lot of business and investing principles come into this.
For sure. And you know, that's part of the reason why I love this hobby so much, because it teaches those business principles and you know, ways to invest in alternative assets.
And it seems like what they're printing the numbers on the card and telling the consumer there's only 5 of this or 100 of this, they're like putting the scarcity and limited nature into it, and they're creating that. Whereas the older cards, it's more the scarcity is of like, did they survive?
Right.
So that scarcity was always been a part of it. Now the companies are kind of baking it into the product.
When you're talking about vintage stuff from the 50s and 60s, you know, that was so long ago. There could have been a lot of different things that have happened to that card.
And I'm sure people, you know, watching this might hear like $100,000 for a card or $1,000 for a card and wondering, gosh, like I don't have that much money. How is there a place for me as someone that only wants to spend a couple dollars a pack or $100 here and there?
Absolutely. So some of these, you know, $100,000, $1 million cards come out of your, you know, $30, $40 box that you can go buy at Walmart and Target and, you know, places like that. So it's not always the, you know, the $1,000 hobby boxes that are seeing, you know, these valuable cards.
And I have, you know, been walking around the show, I'm seeing these boxes that are like $1 boxes, $2 boxes.
Yeah.
So if people are wanting to just spend a few bucks here and there in the hobby, there is a place for them.
Absolutely, there's a place for everyone. Like you said, there's $1 boxes, and which you can, you know, find some gems in. Sometimes you'll look through a $1 box and you'll find a $10 or a $20 card.
You can also add a lot of value to your cards by getting them graded by a professional. There are a lot of companies out there that will do this. It can get expensive to grade your cards, but it can make your cards more valuable. We talked to a local company about this to learn a little bit more about grading and why it might be a good idea with your collectibles. I'm here with Nate and Daniel of GemMint.com, and we're going to be talking about grading. What is grading? Why would someone want to get their card graded?
So the main purpose of grading a card is to set your card apart from the field, right? So when you're opening up packs, you're going to come across a bunch of raw, ungraded cards, and they're going to be all manufactured at the same place, all cut on the same blade, all that. And so what you want to do is you want to make sure that your card is in better condition than everybody else's, right? So it's kind of like a puff your chest out, mine's looks better than yours kind of thing, you know?
What are graders looking for?
Yeah, so we're looking for scratches, dimples, rough edges, if there's a border around the card, if it's cut a little wonky or diagonal, all those things can make it so that your grade is a little bit lower.
What does it do to the value of a card if it gets like a 10 versus like a 7 or an 8?
Usually a 10 is going to have a premium. Typically anywhere between 4 and 10x of what a raw card would go for, ungraded. In modern era, 9, typically, depending on the rarity of the card, is going to be the same as if it was ungraded. 8 or 9, right around that range.
So if you have a $10 card that's ungraded, get it graded and it gets to be a 10, it could become a $100 card. But if you don't get that 10 and it's a 9, it might be still a $10 card.
That is kind of the game that we all play, right? Especially here as sellers. We're all looking for raw cards that we can grade because of that multiplier, right? $10 plus the cost of grading, right around $20, $25. Now you're only into the card for $35, but if I can sell it for $100, that's where the profit is.
One thing I'm noticing too is looking at the cards that are graded, it's a thick case. I mean, is there a protection element that if you're a collector and you want to have this for 40, 50 years, maybe pass it on to your kids or grandkids, is it keep that more secure and safe?
100%, yeah. Yeah, it's basically sealing it and making sure it's going to be safe over time for you.
And so if you're submitting your card for grading, you're literally sending it into a professional who's going to look at it close up. And it sounds like that's a great way to make sure you have something that's authentic. Like if you're trying to protect yourself and your money, buying a graded card versus a non-graded card, someone's already vetted that to make sure that's a real card.
Absolutely. So a grading company is only as good as its reputation, right? Their reputation over time and their knowledge has increased, but so has the scammers and so has the scary part of the hobby where it's people that are creating fakes and things like that. The Michael Jordan rookie card, very, very faked. Lots of fakes out there on the market. So having them come to a grader to authenticate them is going to be really, really important. Most people here in this building probably won't even buy a card like that unless it is authenticated by a third party.
And so what would be your advice to someone who is seeing this show and maybe wants to get into sports cards and is maybe considering grading? What advice would you have for them?
Does the money make sense? Does the formula make sense, right? The other part of it is just do what you love, right? Just in this hobby in general, just do what you love. I want that card because I like it, and I want to appreciate it, and I want to protect it. Judge the card as though it's not your card. So have somebody else look at the card for you, you know, to have them try and talk you out of it almost.
It's easy to get an emotional attachment to your own stuff.
Well, thank you guys so much for telling us about grading. Hopefully our viewers learned a little bit and can help them save some money and avoid some of these pitfalls. Thank you guys so much.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yep, thanks.
We're going to take a quick break here on Your Money. When we come back, I'm going to show you the most expensive basketball card ever. The story of how it was found and how much it sold for. Stay with Your Money to find out. Welcome back to Your Money. Now to the moment a lot of you have been waiting for, the most expensive basketball card ever. It was hidden for decades and was recently found. Check it out.
Crosby is known as the antique capital of Minnesota. Pretty fitting, I'd say, as a collectible object that has a high value was just discovered there.
1 in a million doesn't even put it close to terms on what the reality of it is.
That's Caleb Baker. He's part owner of DK's Sports Card in Crosby and now co-star of the biggest card find of his life that began a few weeks ago.
Anyway, he calls me and I see this thing in person. I'm like, man, I'm trying to play it cool because I don't want to get his hopes up. You know, I don't want to be like, dude, this is going to change your life.
This is the life-changing thing. A 1961 Fleer basketball Wilt Chamberlain rookie card. I'll get to why it's life-changing in a minute. But first, the story of how the guy who had it got it.
His parents owned a grocery store when he was growing up. Him and his brother ripped a bunch of packs of cards and just stuffed them into a cabinet or a drawer within their grocery store. A bunch of years go by. His brother asked the father, hey, where are those old cards? What'd you do with them? Oh, I burnt them. They're gone. They went in a burn pile years ago. Don't worry about that, you know?
The old man was just kidding, but the brothers didn't know that until
the owner found them in the grocery store 60 years later.
And now here we are, 3 guys, 1 card, who needed the trading card world leader to take a look.
I said, let's grade this thing. I'll send it down to SGC in Boca Raton, Florida. They'll take care of it. They'll grade it. And if it grades super well, I'll fly down and pick it up.
SGC is one of 2 companies that grade cards' value based on the shape it's in. And remember, this card was shoved in a grocery store drawer for more than half a century by 2 kids. So SGC gets the card, and then...
Hey everyone, this is Peter from SGC, and I am honored to be introducing all of you to one of the most impressive trading cards that the hobby has ever seen.
The company graded the card from Crosby a 10 on a 10 scale. SGC has never, ever graded a card that well in its history. Meanwhile, back in Crosby,
the gravity of the situation started to hit me. I was at my grandma's house cooking for the whole family, and I just started crying to myself. I'm like, man, this is like, you read about this stuff never happens.
Caleb flew to Florida with his brother to get the card back from SGC. And it was then that SGC said a private buyer is ready to pay you $1.7 million for the card.
The highest vintage basketball card sale of all time.
All that was left to do was go tell the brothers back in Crosby.
I kind of told them the magnitude of this, and I'm like, listen, if this thing would have got an 8, it would have been worth 40 grand. And the wife's face was like, it goes, what do you mean 40 grand? Like, was just in shock. And I'm like, you guys might want to sit down for this. And so I tell them, yeah, I actually sold it privately for $1.7 million. And then I told them, you're getting a check for this amount today. And it was just like hardworking blue collar guys, never took a day off in their life type people. And to just have this at the tail end of it all is pretty unbelievable.
I guess they don't call Crosby the antique capital of Minnesota for nothing. Jana Shortle, KARE 11 News.
So note to self, take some basketball cards, hide them for a few decades, and then tell my grandkids to go out and find them. That should net them a few $1 million, right? Well, thank you so much for watching. We're going to wrap up this episode here of Your Money. I want to thank everyone here at the Minnesota Sports Card Show for hosting us. I'm Gordon Severson, helping you save, spend, and invest your money wisely. I'll see you next time.